Hey everybody, Professor Hatch here to talk about the representation of media outline. Let's just get started. I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to share the entire screen because I'm going to have to flip back and forth between multiple different windows. All right, so this is the assignment, and you should be familiar with this by now because it's the same exact format as the discourse community outline. So, um, this is a 5 paragraph essay. You don't need to turn in anything for the outline. You don't need to turn in anything for the conclusion. You only need the thesis statement for the intro. And you don't need analysis for the 3 body paragraphs, because once again, that's the hardest part of writing an essay. You also don't need a transition in that last body paragraph because there's no need for one. So this is the assignment. And then this is the student outline template, which I've already downloaded and renamed. I'm going to get rid of this whole 2 pieces of evidence thing. Analysis, blah, blah, blah. There we go. And I'm going to get rid of the analysis. And I know I could have done this before I started recording, but I didn't think to, and you can skip through it. All right. And there's the conclusion, getting rid of all that. And finally, getting rid of everything from the intro except the thesis statement. So let's look real quick at the prompt yet again. So it is telling you you need to identify a group you belong to. How has that group been portrayed in the media? And then what are some real world consequences of that portrayal? Um, so the 4 videos down here, the 13th documentary, that is talking specifically about our country's ongoing issues with slavery. Even though slavery theoretically ended when Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation, but really it just kind of transitioned into something different called the Jim Crow laws. And then those went away when we pushed through in 1964 the Civil Rights Bill and the Voting Rights Bill in 65, I believe. And then it didn't go away. It just transitioned into something else again, which is mass incarceration. So, but that said, like one of the major themes of that whole documentary is how specifically Black people, but I mean, everything being discussed in that documentary can apply to all people of color, especially poor people of color in this country. Um, so, how are they portrayed in media? And then we've got the second video here, which is the Asian whitewashing and racism in Hollywood. And then Latinx in mainstream media. And finally, heteronormativity and how it stunts queer representation. Um, you don't have to talk about one of these groups. Like, for example, as a straight cishet white dude, none of this really applies to me. I mean, and yet I still belong to several groups that are portrayed in media, as discussed in the video for the prompt. So I think for the sake of this outline example, I'm going to go with teachers. Um, and then the next question you have might be, well, okay, but none of these videos talks about teachers. That's okay. I can talk, I can quote from these videos and talk about how groups are misrepresented, uh, whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. And again, in the case of teachers, both of these things happen in the media. Um, but I can talk about how I can quote from these videos about how various groups are misrepresented in the media, and I can talk about like real world consequences about that. So going back up here to the 3 major parts in bold, identify a group I belong to, and that is 1 paragraph. Um, I'm actually just gonna copy and paste these because laziness rules. Um, let's do that with the others. How has that group been portrayed in the media? Please. Um, And finally, what are some real world consequences of that portrayal? All right. Um, so again, uh, um, my thesis statement, and 90% of the time I tell you, I tell my students, and I myself make a practice of creating my topic sentences first, and then my like topic sentences for all three paragraphs, and then creating the thesis statement from that. You can do it the other way around. I don't think I'm actually going to do that for this example, though. I think I'm going to do it the way I usually do it. Topic sentence, main idea of the first paragraph. So the topic sentence is going to be one of the many groups I belong to is I don't know, professors is I'm just going to go with teachers. Um, and because I've got borderline OCD, that has to be a capital O. All right, so one of the many groups I belong to is teachers. How has that group been portrayed in the media? Um, teachers are frequently um, teachers are portrayed in a variety of ways in the media, depending on the agenda of the producers. I'm going to leave it at that. Remember, the rough draft is supposed to suck. The outline is supposed to suck more. Revising is where you actually make this stupid thing good. Okay, so third topic sentence. What are some real world consequences of that portrayal? Well, let's see. So let's see. One consequence. Actually, no, I'm going to start that whole one over. There are varying consequences of media portrayal of my profession. I'm going to leave it at that. Um, so like there are three topic sentences. Now I'm going to make a thesis statement out of those. Um, let's see. As a as a college teacher, my profession is portrayed in a variety of ways. Let's see. In the media, and those portrayals um, come with various consequences, comma, both good and bad. Okay, there's my thesis sentence or thesis statement. Again, I can't say this enough. Let it, that's fine, actually, to be honest with you. I would, if I was reading this outline, I'd be perfectly happy with it so far, uh, but it doesn't need to be good. So just get it out there, get it done as fast as possible. Okay. All right. Anyway, so moving on to the transition. One of the many groups I belong to is teachers. Teachers are portrayed a variety of ways in the media, depending on the agenda of the producers. So my transition is going to be something like when, and normally you'll recall my formula for transitions is in addition to X, also Y, but I think that might actually be a little difficult for this particular paragraph. So I'm going to go with when it comes T, for the love of God, when it comes to how teachers are portrayed in media, um, a lot, actually, there is a lot of difference based on the type of media. All right. So teachers, I'm going to tweak now my topic sentence here just a little bit. Teachers are portrayed in a variety of ways. I mean, depending on the agenda of the producers. Actually, no, I'm gonna leave that alone because I can do this. I can what I was gonna say can be put in the context here. And we have to fill that in anyway. Okay, so I got my transition leading straight into the way that they're portrayed. Um, and then uh, the various portrayals mentioned above with both good and bad consequences. Just gonna use that word. If I could think of a different word, I would, but I can't right now. So who gives a rat's ass? All right, so there's my transition done. I've got 3 topic sentences. I've got 2 transitions. All I need to do now is context for all 3. And I need to find my quotes, which obviously I'm not going to do. I don't want you to just watch a video. This video is going to wind up being 20-ish minutes long anyway, and I don't want you to just watch me find a quote from one of these videos that's going to align with what I am trying to talk about. So context, one of the many groups I belong to is teachers. Um, let's see. Context, frequently when people think teachers, think of those who work in the K through 12 classroom in public schools. There we go. You can have more than one sentence of context, and I'm going to do that in this particular example. I, however, and by the way, first person is totally allowed for this essay because you are talking about yourself. That's what the prompt is asking of you. I, however, am a college professor, and there are fewer examples of my, I guess, colleagues, of my particular colleagues in entertainment media. There are several portrayals of us in news media. There's some context. And then, so I'm going to find a quote that talks about negative portrayals in media and how that can lead to a misunderstanding for a particular group. And then I'm going to talk about that in my analysis, which you don't have to do until you start working on the rough draft. But in my analysis, I'm going to say something like let's just talk about, oh gosh, heteronormativity and how that limits queer representation in media. So by by showing various examples of how uh, a complete lack of representation or a negative representation in various media can lead to like widespread misunderstanding of the queer community or the LGBTQIA, right, the trans community, whatever. Then I can also talk about how, I mean, I'm sure all of you have heard the cliche of the super liberal college professor who is basically a super liberal hippie lefty trying to brainwash his students into uh, hating Republicans and ruin the country and blah 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 blah. Obviously, I'm super liberal. I'm an obnoxious liberal. I think we can all agree on that. Um, the truth of the matter is, though, I don't really give a damn if you see the world the way I see the world. It's my job to teach you how to write a better essay. Um, if I challenge your worldview and you actually come around to a different way of seeing things, then that's awesome. But what is also awesome is if I challenge your worldview and you think about it and you actually decide that your opinion isn't going to change, that's also awesome because your opinion is now actually reinforced by actual thought you've put into it because of a oppositional point of view that you were presented with, which makes your opinion even stronger than it was before. So I don't care so much about what people believe. I would like everyone to believe what I believe, and I think that's a human nature thing. But what I really care about is that everyone uses their critical goddamn mind that they were gifted with at birth, and actually puts a little thought into their worldviews. Is America the, home of the brave, land of the free? Is it? Is it really? And like, I'm not saying it's not, but if it is, why? Give me some examples. Or like, the truth of the matter is America was founded on freedom of speech and freedom of religion and all these wonderful things, and it was also founded on genocide, slavery, like snake oil salesmen and con men. I mean, that's just the truth of what America is. So like, if you believe that it's all the good things and none of the bad, I don't understand that. But if you believe those things after having fully considered other points of view, then I respect that. I respect that. What I can't respect is, you know, uh, people who just have beliefs but that haven't put 2 seconds worth of thought into those beliefs. And the reason I'm going on like this, it's not just because I'm on a soapbox, though let's be honest, I am on a bit of a soapbox. But the reason I'm going on like this is because I want to talk about that. I don't want to talk about it just for a paragraph and a paragraph and a paragraph, but I want to talk about that like in the analysis. Like this is important to me that I like this is what I actually am concerned about. Um, and sometimes there is negative mention of college teachers in the news, and that portrayal is like completely missing the point, or it's oversimplifying. Because let's be honest, there are liberal teachers who, uh, uh, oh, I don't know, there are liberal teachers who are not as open to debate as others. Let's put it that way and be politically neutral. But so anyway, that's all something that I might talk about in regards to various portrayal in the media. Although now that I think about it, what I just said might actually have more purpose, or might be better suited for the second paragraph. But in any case, now I'm not gonna have to go into it for this paragraph. Okay, so anyway, topic sentence from the second body paragraph. Teachers are portrayed in a variety of ways in the media, depending on the agenda of the producers. Um, um, in entertainment media, it is also common for teachers to be portrayed as heroes, as heroic servants of the public. Uh, News media, teachers are often portrayed as greedy and or lazy uh, public employees who want I don't know, want more money than they earn because after all they get summers off. Parentheses, except of course for those of us who don't. That's a little snarky. I don't care. I think that's appropriate. Snark, academically and professionally phrased snark is not out of place in an academic essay. All right, so there's my context. And then again, I'm not gonna find a quote um, to go with this. Context for this last one. What are some real world consequences of that portrayal? Um, I'm just gonna go with um, the way college professors have been portrayed in news media, has had a few negative, has caused, let's not had, I don't like that, has caused few negative encounters with people in personal life. I have told on a few occasions. I've been told on a few occasions that teaching is a scam. What was I told? Grift? I can't remember. Yeah, let's just go with scam. Teaching is a scam job, and I heard the legendary classic semicolon, those who can do, those who can't teach. So yeah, I think that's enough context for that. All right, so this is me writing my own essay prompt. And obviously what I need now to finish this outline is evidence for all three body paragraphs. And again, I'm not going to find anything in any of those videos speaking directly to, I'm going to cancel my screen share. I'm not going to find anything in any of those videos speaking directly to my experience as a teacher, but you will find all kinds of common ground. I don't care what group you're talking about. I don't care if you're talking about the, I don't know, Popeye the Sailor Man cosplay group, which has got to be a pretty niche group. But you're going to find portrayals of them in media that are going to mirror what we're talked about in these four videos. And obviously, when we're talking about portrayal based on ethnicity, gender, sexual orientation, um, these things are what I would call sort of high stakes, right? High stakes representation. Is it lower stakes for how teachers are portrayed in the media? Probably, but the difference is going to be so small that I honestly think it's a waste of time to even like measure how much lower the stakes are. Are the stakes lower for how comic book nerds are portrayed in media? Obviously, completely. It's still something you could write about. Um, you could write about how annoyed you are at how your group, like let's just say it's a comic book nerd or a video game enthusiast or an esports guy or whatever. Um, you could write about how that community is portrayed in the media and how annoyed you are with that portrayal, and that's important. It's lower stakes than how people of color are portrayed or how queer people are portrayed, but that doesn't matter in terms of this essay. It's just as legit a topic to write about as anything else. So yeah, that's got to be everything I have to say about this particular outline, right? Yeah, right. Okay. I'm glad you agree. I'm going to shut up now. Bye.